Hi, this is Lucia with The Art of Love. I'm a dating and relationship expert specializing in helping you get your ex back. Today, I want to talk about the 2 times when you are most likely to hear from your ex. If you're in no contact, I know that the number 1 question on your mind is, when will I hear from my ex? Well, I'm about to tell you. But before I do, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. And while you're at it, tap the bell icon so you will be notified when a new video is up. All right, so I believe there are 2 times when you are more likely than not to hear from your ex. The first one I've talked about before, I've mentioned it. It's the 60-day rule, and that is that you will hear from them within 60 days of the breakup or 60 days from the point of last contact. So if you broke up, or if they broke up with you and then you remained in contact for a week or 2, then you start counting from that point of last contact. And more often than not, you will hear from them between days 45 and 60. So that would be in weeks 7 and 8. Yes, I know you were hoping to hear from them sooner, but no contact is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Don't expect it to be over in a week because you'll be disappointed. Not everything happens that fast. Now, people often ask, how did you arrive at this 45 to 60 day rule? Well, great question. I didn't arrive at it. I'm not that smart. But this is how it happened. There is a very popular book that has sold millions of copies called Psycho-Cybernetics. It was originally written in the 60s by Maxwell Maltz. There is a chapter in there on rumination where he talks about when someone has to make a major decision, an important decision, they can take up to 60 days. And the crucial time period in that are the days 45 to 60. So Dr. Pat Allen, who is a noted marriage and family therapist, and who I happen to know personally, realized that this also applies to breakups. And in fact, we were recently in a documentary together titled The Truth About Marriage. It's really funny. You got to check it out, although I wasn't that funny in it. And as we were standing in line to go in to see the screening, I'm like, Dr. Pat, tell me, how did you get this 45 to 60 day rule? And she said that she realized that this applied to breakups, and she saw that with her clients, that when someone was waiting to hear back from an ex, often it would be between dates 45 and 60. And she got those numbers from Maxwell Maltz. So there's the story behind that. That's the first time that you may hear from your ex. The second time you may hear from your ex, and if these 2 fall together, then good for you. And that is during Mercury retrograde. I think we've all heard of Mercury retrograde, and even people who don't believe in astrology, they believe in Mercury retrograde because they've seen the effects of it. They've seen the miscommunications, the misunderstandings, the delays, the machines breaking down, and they know that first they start to ask, like, what is going on? And then they eventually find out about Mercury retrograde. They're like, oh no. And some people prepare ahead of time. I do. I put it in my calendar to know when it's coming, so I'll be prepared. And the great thing for you about Mercury retrograde is that it's also a time when people often return for one reason or another. And so that is another time when you may hear back from your ex. So if you were, quote unquote, lucky enough to have been broken up before Mercury retrograde, when it was coming up, then that's great, especially if it falls in that 45 to 60 day period. And Mercury retrograde happens 3 times a year for about 3 weeks, and you can always, of course, find out the dates for that online. And I've actually experienced this myself. More often than not, during Mercury retrograde, I do end up hearing from people from the past. They may even be friends or business colleagues or exes. So that is the second time when you are most likely to hear from your ex. So if you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear your comments below about when you heard from your ex, or if you heard from your ex during a Mercury retrograde. That would be a great story. And if you want to speak to me personally about your current situation, about getting your ex back, you can contact me at my website, theartoflove.net. The direct link is below, where you can also sign up for my free weekly newsletter. And that's again, theartoflove.net. If you're listening on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. If you're listening on iTunes, I would appreciate if you would rate and review the podcast. And finally, remember that love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.